Hey everyone, Dan here. Before we get into it, if you enjoy these videos, please hit the like and subscribe button. It helps a lot. And also keep in mind that these are my own thoughts, opinions, and ideas. These are not meant to be, nor should you take them as investment or trading advice in any way, shape, or form. Do your own due diligence, put in the work for yourself, and make your decisions based on that. Enjoy. All right, folks, here we are after market close on Tuesday, September 14th. We're going to take our daily look at SoFi, and we're going to start off on the daily today, and then we'll flip over to the 1-day, 1-minute chart to see what went down during the day today, and go from there. So, cleaning this up a little bit, today we're profoundly out of the gap at this point, right? We came up, tried to make an attempt in the gap, weren't able to hold it. We got pushed down under the pressure of this downtrend here that we charted in yesterday's video, and we extended this uptrend on yesterday's video as well, which came into play today as it bounced right off of that zone today. And sort of waiting to see if it's going to hold. The body of the candle held for today. A couple of things that I'm a bit concerned about are that the selling pressure is just increasing, right? So today we're quite a bit higher, over 24 million in volume, over 20 million yesterday, and almost 17 the day before, versus 18 on the last green day, and 21.5 on the green day before that. So a bit of a mixed bag. It's nice to see overall, I still think, it bringing in more volume, but tough to see the growing volume on consecutive red days. Now, at this point, we've tested just 3 trading days ago the upper end of this bound and got pushed down. We weren't able to hold that 1502 support. Now this is the next question. Can we hold this uptrend support? And if not, can 1411 catch us? So that's what I'm looking at for the moment. And like I had mentioned, I think in yesterday's video or the one before that, I have exited my shortest of short-term SoFi positions. These are ones that were going to expire within the month, and I still have not made any changes to my longer term or even my midterm positions in SoFi. So just for context. The other thing on the MAs, it's losing support of the 20. Put up a bit of a fight today, but wasn't able to hold it for the moment. So can it quickly regain that? Maybe. To me, these levels, whether they're trend lines, supply and demand zones, MAs, it's not a super black and white, either it holds it or it doesn't. To me, I always talk about it, and I don't know if this is caught by folks listening, but just to reiterate and try to clarify, I always look at these things in, is it keeping support there? Which no, clearly right now it's not holding support there after today. But what it hasn't done yet, which is what I'd really be looking for to consider it, having changed, would be that it starts treating that 20 MA as resistance. So if once it becomes resistance, then I'm like, okay, the 20, throw it out the window. It's not going to do anything for us. What's the next level down? So to me, it's still battling with the 20 to try to figure out it could very quickly regain support. It could certainly turn it into resistance and get pushed down further. That's what we're waiting to try to see. But for now, all of the current catch zones are catching. This trend line, the 20 is sort of, like I said, it's fighting with the 20 right now. 1411 below that, 1305 below that, per my estimates based on the charting that we did a few weeks ago at this point. Flipping over to the daily, this is the sadness that that we saw today. We've seen pretty consistently now, I think. Let me recheck this. But today we had a big push at open, tried desperately to hold that 1502. We were able to twice, and then we just exhausted the buying pressure. We've talked about that before. When things repeatedly test support zones, it can be very, very hard for the buyers to continue to step up and step up and step up and fill the orders that are coming in and buy the ask and keep the price up there. So, as that happens, it's sold off pretty hard. And, that drop was pretty dramatic, and then really just kind of getting caught in no man's land here at 1438 with a little bits of buying coming in toward the end. Now, obviously, a big factor here is the economy as a whole. There's a lot of fear and uncertainty right now. There's a lot of folks who just kind of think that things feel overextended, and I went over some of those macro forces in Friday's video, which came out Sunday. Sorry, in Sunday night's video. If you go look at that, there was ones there. There was ones there. There were slides there that I went through in the video talking about some potential macro factors that could just affect SoFi in terms of like it's going to affect a bunch of stocks. But I think that's a big part of what SoFi is getting caught up in here too. You see this big sell-off here, kind of aligning with when we got pushed back here. It was acting relatively independently for the first half of the day, but then toward the end kind of just got in line, or I guess toward the second half really just kind of got in line. Now what I'm wondering about, and I haven't scoped this pattern out yet at all, though maybe if I just do the 5-day it'll clarify a little bit. So I'm wondering about this like slingshot effect that we see a lot of stocks just as a factor of them sort of developing their own personality, I guess, if you want to think of it that way, and what they do. So we see a big sell-off here, and then we see it, rebounding relatively well in the second half of the day. We see it pushing it at open and then selling off. That one didn't really do any slingshot. Selling off and into selling off. No, so it's not really doing this. There's some stocks that looked at before in different videos, not SoFi, but in other ticker videos, where it has this very clear sort of, if it does this within the first 30 minutes, more often than not, recently, it's changing direction and doing the opposite for most of the rest of the day. Or if it does this in the first 15 minutes, it's just going to continue to do that for the rest of the day. And that's certainly not all stocks, as you can see here. That's not what's happening with SoFi, but it was just something curious because I remember yesterday we talked about the big sell-off and then regaining a bunch of those losses. And then today I saw the big tick up and then a huge tick down, and was just curious if it was doing anything of the sort. But no such luck at the moment. But yeah, that's what I'm looking at here on the charts. Now, if we flip over to the data, not a ton. This is kind of interesting. I mean, this is kind of interesting, but also kind of nothing. This is just something coming out. Mobile payment providers began rapidly. I mean, I don't know what this has to do with much of anything, but the thing that I thought was interesting here is they're talking about investing to engage new customers. And I know that SoFi is very focused or very sensitive. I don't know exactly how they view it internally, but to me it feels like they're very sensitive of customer acquisition costs, which is fair and fine. But I do worry, as I mentioned, I think in last night's video and in previous videos as well, especially leading up to this next earnings, I worry about their ability to capture massive amounts of members, because I do think that there's a huge part of institutions, a huge part of just funds in general, but the retail public for sure, that are paying a premium based on membership. Now, whether or not you think that that's bogus or not is another thing, but I do think that in general they pay a pretty high premium, and also acquirers, right? When companies go through M&A, a lot of times they're wondering what the usership is, and SoFi is still having such an extremely low usership by my estimates or by my standards. I don't know. I would really hope that they would spend some time focusing on that and just boosting those numbers significantly. Company's been around actually for a relatively long time, and to just have less than 3 million members still, I would I mean, I feel like we should be looking to 10x that ASAP. But maybe that's wrong-headed for many reasons, but I do think in terms of like how it would affect the stock, the potential for acquisition, I don't know if that's really in anyone's frame of reference. Noto doesn't necessarily seem like that kind of person to me, but who knows? Who knows what the board thinks, right? That's the important thing in those types of decisions. But yeah, I think that the stock itself would benefit tremendously from SoFi putting in major efforts to 10x that membership number. And not to say don't worry about the rest of it, but I do think to a degree they could be limping along in some ways because they're trying to do so many different things. So they may have to peel off some other initiatives that they're really focused on to grab those members. But That's just my 2 cents, which doesn't mean anything. But um, anyway, shorts generally staying out of SoFi, utilization still at about a third, which is interesting that the short interest of the free float being estimated at 2.66 by Ortex, but we'll just keep an eye on it. But glad to see that they've gotten well out of the double digits at this point and aren't putting added undue selling pressure into the stock itself. All right, folks. Well, I hope that you had a good trading day and that your week is off to a good start. And I appreciate you watching. I will see you in the next video.